Potential. Just something that ain't happened yet, according to Rosie Greer some years ago. And you kind of wonder, as did he, what gets in the way of you reaching the things that you aspire to be. And I found that the greatest enemy of success is accepting being good. And that in itself is, when you understand it, you find out that there is a whole lot of room between just being good and really opening up your total potential. And the things that hold you back probably are things like trust and addictions. We need to think about that for a while. It's the idea of education, government, churches, news media. There are so many people that are not telling you the truth. In fact, as a young man, I was reading a fellow by the name of Rabbi Funk, and he said that without commitment, there is confusion. And that resonated with me. And as I went on in life and worked with people, I found that there were two other possibilities. You can be somewhat confused about your commitment. And I believe today that we are more committed to confusion. So with that kind of on the table, how do you prepare for the future, knowing that deceit, our money system is not real, our foods are not real? How are you going to prepare, and whose job is it to kind of guide you through this swamp? Well, if these things are getting between you and your success, such as your self-esteem, such as the energy, the education that you have, and perhaps it's even purpose. And if you choose to do things wrong in this arena, such as your eating habits, your what you watch habits, just the things that drive you during the day, then they create an unusual amount of pain, and you find yourself in pain management. And let me list a few of the things that goes with that. Anxiety, emotional issues, anger is a big problem today. Loneliness, and there's always financial security with the vast majority of us. So the damage that you do with anxiety is it compromises your immune system. And I would think that that would be one of the critical areas that you would really want to make sure yours was up. Causes of eating habits, all directed directly at the emotional side of life. You see, our emotions drive our eating habits. And for that small group of people where they really eat for performance, their eating habits are substantially different. And the anger issue, how we deal with that, such as alcohol, drugs, things of that nature, to get us over that hump. And then loneliness. The stress that comes from it is almost immeasurable, and financial kind of leads to gambling. So the reasons that we choose not to change, they can be so many. Change is difficult. I recognize that. To move from what you've been doing for years and years and years to step into the world that's not known is very difficult. And that's the world that we want to discuss, because there's some of us that have become that point on the spear and have taken that challenge. The benefits are unusually great. And by the way, they're really unusually easy. It's a matter of common sense. But the problem with this, though, not only is change difficult, but we are addicted to some things. Food is one of them because it gives freedom. And what you know, that's another issue, and peer pressure. There are so many people that we're around that don't really want you to succeed because, you see, you would be holding that against them, and they don't want to give up. They want what they have. So what do? They discourage you from being successful. The issues that we're dealing with, obviously emotional, physical, financial, spiritual. Today, people don't know what the truth is. They're wandering around seeking for the truth. But once you believe, that's when the journey begins. But for so many cases, our science world tells us that we have to know before we can believe. And I think that maybe you have to believe that it's this simple before you can know. And right in the middle of all of this stuff, we come up with attitude. Attitude is everything. If your attitude is in the tank, excuse me, it's no good. When your attitude is poor, your performance is poor, as is your immune system. And how do we create a really healthy attitude? First, we start off with a little bit of knowledge. How about a little bit of understanding, and then the support to make sure that you're right, so that you're comfortable with what you're saying and doing. And when a person sees themselves in a different light, to where they're performing better, to where they feel better, they got more energy, their cognitive skills are going up, their skin is looking better, that's when we find ourselves of value. And when you find yourself valuable to others, that what you have to offer increases how they think, then we quit harming ourselves, because we're looking for things to keep us out of harm's way. Along with that, there's always accountability. You have to have someone that you're accountable to. And that brings in this wonderful world of responsibility. Who are we responsible to, and how are we going to manage that? For energy and self-esteem, that seems to be at the heart of our performance. That brings about the lack of doing damage to yourself. And the outcome of that, if you imagine the fads that we go through for eating disorders, for all of the emotional disorders that we seem to function in, if you began to think better of yourself, balanced yourself in terms of frequencies, we'll get into that, the weight control issue seems to go away because we eat differently. Your immune system goes up. You begin to feel comfortable in and about other folks. Your mental acuity jumps. I can tell you that from personal experience. Now that I'm pushing 80, I'm still feeling very responsive to reading and understanding and groping with some of the problems of today. You might understand why I'm doing this is because in my 50 years working, it was on our watch that we let this take place. So the patience that comes from understanding is really there. So the question is simple. How can a young, old man keep his way pure? Seek understanding and turn your eyes to things that are of value. At the core of this is going to be a competitive mode between real and unreal. The real side is a symphony. We are a symphony. The body is a symphony. And all of these parts are in harmony with one another. They work synergistically. It's a beautiful thing when your body and your mind and your spirit are functioning, versus the unreal world, which is made up of an orchestra that sounds like it's getting ready to play. People making clanging noise, commotion all over the place. But you see, their science, their position is based on particles, molecules, and if that doesn't work for you, well, you always have pharmacy and drugs. The real side, we've chosen the Faraday and the Maxwell and the Einstein method of frequencies, wavelengths, and energy fields. And the reason we've done that is simply this, that if you agree that you are made up from atoms, then that means an atom is 1% mass, 99% energy fields, nothing. That is so interesting. And if we eat to regulate foods that create frequencies, then you'll find yourself eating differently, because the side over here that's unreal, they're using mind materials such as iron and magnesium and copper and all of these things that are in inorganic form. And then they use petroleum products that they convert into vitamins. So you have something that's really not real married to something that is really quite dead, and you're made to believe that that will create life. Well, versus somebody that's serving you and getting you a foundation of understanding. You have to change your foods from processed and inorganic to things that are grown in healthy soils, healthy seeds, brought to you in care. That's principal to your health. You have got to be responsible for that. And you're the one that's going to live in that house that you're building today that you're going to move into in 10 years. And that's what we at Nefesh really want to talk to you about. If we can show you a plan, we've built a product that builds energy, cleans the body, cleans the brain, cleans all of this junk out of your body, gives you energy, and allows you to put that in a supplementary form, show you how to eat what you're supposed to eat to create the cleanest form of energy you can imagine for half the money. Is that something that you're interested in? Follow us then in this. And where I got my information from is strictly from Scripture. The sciencey part, I picked up over the years, the collegiate level. But where this information really came to me from was from Scripture. It told me exactly how to eat. Well, you got to ferret through some of that, but you come up with the instructions are my delight. What a fabulous statement. And they are my counselors. It's my core. And as long as I walk within, understanding that my system is based on laws, biochemical laws, if you will, that when I abide by them, I have freedom. What an amazing story. And then with that, he gives you the authority that says, I will speak of my instructions, your instructions to kings. And I will do it without being ashamed. And that's the whole of what Nefesh stands for. Is first of all, to bring to you a solution that's based in common sense. It's based in being affordable because we're going to show you how to take what you're currently buying, cut that price in half, which would give you a bunch of money to buy products that are real. And it's so simple. That difference makes all to you and your family.